Alright, hello everyone and welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host of the AEW Tuesdays, Dougie Doug. In today's episode I'm going to be discussing the All In Pay-Per-View 2023 edition. So in front of 80,000 fans, AEW made its pay-per-view debut in London, England, and I think, its debut in London, England was the first ever All In event under the AEW banner. Now putting this show at Wembley Stadium seemed like a risk and a tall order at first, but especially for a company that has never done a show in a stadium or even overseas, a stadium like Wembley. But ticket sales exceeded expectations, and the show was packed from top to bottom with big names competing in a variety of matches. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action. And for the show, I picked out 4 matches, and we'll start with the Rio World Championship match, CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. And this was a match with competitors that are well-established names, and it's making it the right type of contest to kick off the show. The crowd was hot, not to mention the split for Punk, which seems to be the norm. CM Punk would get the win and retain, and that is likely the end of this feud here. Punk will likely move on to his next opponent, as All Out, which is next week, is in his hometown of Chicago, so you know he's going to be on the card. Question is, who does he face? Does he resume his feud with Ricky Starks, which kind of sounds uninspiring, but not the worst idea. Or maybe do him and MJF cross paths. After all, CM Punk is calling himself the real world champion. MJF is the recognized world champion. Certainly seems like they're on a collision course, but it looks like MJF is preoccupied with other things, so well, I guess we'll have to see. Tune into Collision next Saturday to see who they set up as Punk's next challenger. The Golden Elite versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Konosuke Takeshita. So this was all action all the time, with little time for rest holds or slowdowns, and the crowd was all for it, red hot for Page and Omega, more specifically. There were moments of disjointed action and the occasional sloppy spots, which is bound to happen in these AEW trios matches. Sometimes these guys just they just go so fast trying to cram in as much as they can that not all of it works, but it didn't really take away from the overall quality of the match, so that's a good thing. The obvious direction, or the seemingly obvious direction following this match, we'll have Omega taking on Takeshita at All Out next Sunday, seemingly likely. And as for Kota Ishii, I don't know if he's under contract at AEW. I don't think he is, but if he's not under contract, might want to consider locking him up under contract. As for this feud, maybe it continues, maybe it doesn't, but it seems likely it continues in the form of Omega versus Takeshita. Other participants involved, who knows what's next for them. AEW World Tag Team Championship match, FTR versus the Young Bucks, and these two teams threw everything they had at each other, putting each other down with their own finishers in an attempt to, not only win the match, but do so in a way that adds insult to injury. It did not work, so the Bucks tried to go back to Old Faithful, but a momentary hesitation based on probable exhaustion and an alert Harwood allowed the champions to put the opposition away. The crowd was split right down the middle with the only chance for both teams. The commentary enhanced the presentation, and there was an overall sense of urgency from the competitors themselves to help make this match special and help heighten the stakes. This was great tag team wrestling, and Bucks FTR, they always mesh pretty well together, always have shown great chemistry within the ring, so ultimately FTR wins. They win. They win. They get the win here, so now they're up 2-1. Interesting that the Young Bucks opted not to shake their hands after the match, but I don't really see that as a sign that this feud continues, so I am quite curious to see where both teams go from here, and if FTR is going to make the All Out card defending the titles. And then to conclude the show, we have the probably one of the more highly anticipated AEW World Championship matches, Adam Cole versus MJF, who during the 0 hour actually won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. So during this main event, there was a big question surrounding this match, and it was who would betray who. who would leave and who would leave with the World Championship. Pretty much the answer to who would betray who. Neither guy betrayed neither guy, despite having multiple teases throughout the course of this match, including a false draw finish. Neither Cole nor MJF could bring themselves to turn on the other, despite attempts from Roderick Strong to get Cole to do what was necessary to take the title. Cole ultimately chose to not do the necessary thing, instead do the right thing, and that led to him getting rolled up in a small package, allowing MJF to retain. Strong main event that hit all the right story notes, and a finish that created doubt that MJF would have won were it not for Strong, but also ensured the most entertaining story and the most entertaining team in the company will continue to be a team. What happens next with them? Probably a Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship match at All Out with Cole and MJF taking on the Kingdom and Strong. Yeah, that's likely what happens next. Question is, who teams with Strong in that one? Unlikely they make it unlikely to be a trios thing unless Kyle O'Reilly's back, but I haven't heard anything that suggests that, so it's probably just a tag team match would make more sense anyway, for it to be just a tag team match. So in conclusion, I would say All In was a hit. On the grandest stage it ever appeared on, AEW delivered a pay-per-view that was more good than bad, featured its best storyline, and felt like its biggest pay-per-view yet. After a hot start with Punk Joe, the trios match featuring the Golden Elite, and the tag team title belt, the show hit a lull with the Stadium Stampede match and the women's title match that, judging by the fact it got about 9 minutes, was more rushed than should have been, and that certainly does point to a grander issue with the women's division. It is not in a good spot at the moment. Saraya as champion, I won't make any judgments on that until I see it play out, but there are some questions about the overall condition of the AEW women's division. Warranted questions too. The show did recover nicely and ended with an exclamation point in the form of with the Adam Cole MJF saga. The show was a major feat for the AEW, a huge accomplishment for Tony Khan and company. The announcement regarding the return of women next year might be a bit ambitious, but time will tell if they can replicate the success of the show. I'm thinking they can. I don't see any reason why they couldn't, but yeah, I guess we'll have to just wait until next year to see what happens with that. One thing is for sure, the company comes out of it All In hotter than it was when it went into the show. Now whether that momentum can be sustained with another pay-per-view coming up next weekend, we shall see. And with that will conclude this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.